Uh, okay. Good afternoon. My name is Melissa Enmore. I am here today with a very special person who will introduce himself in a minute. The purpose of us getting together today for this conversation is to celebrate International Women's Month, and us being Queen's College, the Queen's College of Guyana Alumni Association of Canada. And so my name is Melissa Enmore. I'm a member of the organization, and I'm joined here today by I'm with Mr. Clarence Trotz. So Mr. Trotz, I'll give you the opportunity to introduce yourself for those of us who may not know you.
Well, for those who don't know me, my name is Clarence Trotz, and I was the headmaster of Queen's College from 1974 to 1980. It was I, as headmaster, who introduced co-education into Queen's College, and that is something of which I'm intensely proud.
Thank you so much, Mr. Trotz. So today we will have a conversation, and he'll take you down memory lane about our good old school and share some anecdotes and celebrate all the victories that our schools accomplished to date. So let's start from the very beginning. Where in Guyana did you grow up, Mr. Trotz?
Well, I grew up in what was called in my day as a child, it was called the Cinderella County. And you would know what county that was. Essequibo, of course, because nothing much happened in Essequibo. The largest and I don't want to say the most backward, but the least fortunate of the three counties. My school was Philadelphia Scots, as it was when I was there, but now called Philadelphia Primary. And I was there from 1938 right up to 1945, when I was lucky enough to win a common entrance. It was called a county scholarship in those days. And I was the only one in that year to get a scholarship, which took me to Queen's College in 1945. And I was there for 7 years until 1952.
Wow, very impressive, very accomplished from a very young age. And my parents actually grew up in Essequibo, so very, very familiar with it, very fond memories there. So you were a scholar from the time you were, or a scholar in the making?
Well, I was a student. If I was a scholar, but certainly a student. And even until now, I'm nothing like a student now. I'm still learning so much.
And I think that's one of the good old takeaways from our school is this lifelong learning.
Yeah.
So when did you attend Queen's College, and which house did you belong to?
Well, I attended Queen from 45. I was in Durban House for all my time at Queen's, and I left in 52.
Very nice. And did you have a favorite subject or teacher?
Well, let's say I had two favorite subjects. One was mathematics, and the other was a related subject, physics.
Oh, wow. Okay. And I'll go a little bit off script here. Why mathematics and why physics?
Because I had some very inspiring teachers of mathematics in my primary school. That's where I really learned the elements of mathematics. How to add, how to subtract, how to do mental arithmetic, how to know when your answer was wrong, or if not wrong, impossible. Things like that are what they taught me. In those days, we had teachers who were very well trained. They were very patient. They know how to teach, and they were kind. On the other hand, if you didn't do what they expected you to do, they were pretty harsh. Those were the days when you got strokes, you got belts and canes and all that, when you didn't do what was expected of you. So I was one of the more fortunate. I was always a good boy, so to speak. And I never had much of that experience, I can tell you.
Good for you.
But generally, it was not a pleasant life if you didn't do what you expected to do.
Good for you. Good for you. I remember mathematics and physics being particularly challenging for me. So I had to ask about, how did you get so interested in these, become so interested in these particularly tough subjects. And so what is one, or you're willing to, you can share more than one, but what is one of your fondest memories of being a student at Queen's College?
Well, something that remains indelible in my memory is my award in my first year at Queen's of the first place, you know, recognition. Let's put it that way.
Wow.
I got a first prize for good work in my first form, which was 2B in those days. It was
Okay.
2B.
Okay.
And then after after 1 year in 2B, I did so well in 2B that I was promoted to a higher level of form. Now, QC had the method of A being for the very best students,
Mhm.
B for the middling students, and C for the not so good students.
Okay.
So I was one of the not so good students. My percentage on getting into Queens was only 67.5%. That's in Essequibo, and I got first place in Essequibo with that small percentage. In Demerara and Babis, it was more like 75 and 80 and 85. And so on. So I was one of the least of the apostles, you might say.
Still
But
made
in spite of that, I got the first prize in 2B in my first year.
Wow.
On the strength of that, too, I was promoted to a B form.
Wow.
To an A form, sorry, to an A form.
A form.
The 3A. And I think I got second in that form.
Hmm.
And that was my last prize at Queen's College.
Wow.
So I won 2 prizes at Queen's in 2B and in 3A.
Wow. Congratulations. That's amazing. That's
Well,
great. I'm sure your parents were super proud of you for that. And so any other memories?
yes, I remember having a bit of a battle with one of my classmates,
Oh
a
no.
fistic battle, which I lost.
Oh no.
Which
Sorry
I
to hear
lost.
that.
And from that time, they called me Cliff Anderson. Cliff Anderson was one of Guyana's boxers, you see. He was very famous in those days, at that time, in fact. And so because I said I would box, they called me Cliff Anderson. And I was very short, very small in build. And so was he, you see. So he said I look like Cliff Anderson. So
Oh man,
I got
I
that
can
name.
only imagine. I can only imagine the two of you in the classroom or after class.
So
Uh,
that was in the tuck shop, that was.
oh, I remember that tuck shop.
All the battles that took place in those days was in the tuck shop. They were all in the tuck shop.
Oh man, sounds like you had quite the experience. So I'm sure you have so many fond memories of
Oh, very good. Very many,
college.
many, many memories.
Very, very fond memories.
I also remember being kicked on my shin in football.
Oh, you're athletic too.
And that was not pleasant. From then on, I said, never again. No more football for me.
Okay, okay, that was the beginning and
No
the
more
end.
football for me.
Okay. I was never a very athletic student, but I was very much into the arts. I was a part of the choir. I loved music. I went to piano lessons. So
So
anything
you were more or less an artist then, not like us.
on the
You were
yes,
an
on the
artist.
artistic side,
You were
more
an
on the
artist.
artistic side. I did not like visual arts, so I was not a very good art student.
So you were not a good painter, nothing like that at all. In fact.
No, no, not at all. But my parents were able to send me to piano lessons, and so I was able to win the Clara Burrows Award for grades 1 and 2 in piano. And so music, I was very musically inclined, but not.
So was that award a local award or overseas award?
I believe it was a local award, yes, for
What's the
all.
name? What's the name? What was the name of it?
It was Clara Burrows. It was called the Clara Burrows Award, and so
Clara Burrows. Now she might
yes.
have been related to one of the boroughs I knew in Guyana. There were
Oh, possibly.
quite a few boroughs in Guyana. Yes, quite a few.
Okay.
As a matter of fact, I would like to feel that one of the original boroughs was was a painter, an artist.
Oh, no way. Okay,
He
that
was
makes
he was we call him Herb.
okay.
E.R. Burroughs. He was a painter,
Okay.
and he taught at Queens too. He taught at
No
Queens.
way. Okay.
Well, if you buy the history which I wrote, you'll read all about him in that history.
Okay. So I'm glad you mentioned that. I'm glad you mentioned
But
that.
that's coming up, I believe, in the present volume. I think so. In the present volume, yes, in the present volume.
Okay.
The one's
Okay.
coming up now.
So you mentioned the book that you wrote. Let's jump ahead there and we'll jump around a bit. So tell us about the book, your motivation and the process of actually writing a book about
Well,
Queen.
the motivation for that was great, immense, huge, because the last history we had before mine was the one done by Norman Cameron. You know the name Norman Cameron.
Very sounds familiar.
Norman Cameron was the most, how shall I put, reputable mathematician Queen's College ever produced.
Okay.
Up to now. I don't think there's anybody who's been better than he was at mathematics. Now, he wrote the history that covered 1884 to 1951. From the birth of the school in 1884, right up to 1951, 1844, right up to 1951. And between 51 and when I wrote this book, that's a few years ago, there was nothing at all written. So something like what? 51, 49, and add on to that 24. Something like over 60 years passed without anything being written at all about Queen's College. And I thought that was not right. A school as important as, as influential as Queen's College, not having its history written by somebody, that could never be right. So I said, look, I'll make that my task. And not only that, but I was the only person who could write such a book at this time, because I was at Queen's from 45 to 52 as a student, and then from 57, from 52 to 53 in Guyana, 53, 57 in England studying, and then back to Guyana in 57, where I spent another 20 odd years before retiring and going to the Caribbean. And having left the Caribbean, I went to England. But through all that period of time, I kept in touch with the school.
Oh, good for you.
So I knew a lot of what went on, if not in the school, about the school.
Okay.
And there was nobody else who I thought could write that book with the amount of knowledge, that they would have had as against my knowledge. So I pride myself in thinking that I knew most of what happened at Queen's, and therefore I was the fittest person to write that book. Nobody else would know as much about the school as I would. Now, that's not boasting, but it's just a matter of fact.
Yeah. And thank you for doing that, because now people like myself, we're able to reap the benefit and learn about a little bit more about the history of our school. And sometimes it really helps to understand the context, to really appreciate the evolution.
And of course, this history takes us until 2010, I think.
Okay.
Right up to 2010. That's after your time.
Just after my time. Yes, I was there 94 to 97. So one of the things that was evident to me during my time was the fact that the school was a co-ed school, and I never even thought to question that. But I know that it wasn't always a co-ed school, and that you were instrumental in making that transition from the school being predominantly boys or all boys to now co-ed.
All boys. I would say all boys.
All boys. So tell us about that time and about that shift.
That took place almost suddenly, without any warning. There had been mention of that in 1962, 63. Somebody suggested in the lecture, of which you know the lecture, of course, that Queen's College should be changed to a co-ed school. In the 60s, that was mooted. But nobody paid any attention to it. And it never took place until 75, 13 years later. And it took place in 1975, because in 1975, the then government deemed 1975 the year of education. That was 1975. And in that year, all departments sending out letters and circulars had to put that in bold type, the year of education, 1975. And in that year, suddenly, there was a rumor that bishops and queens were going co-ed. And that rumor was substantiated by a member of the education ministry in Guyana, who was my friend. And he told me confidentially that this was going to happen. And your school is one that had to go co-ed. So I was pre-warned. I wasn't taken really by surprise. I was pre-warned, but not officially. The official information came about a month or two later, something like March in 1975. And we had to be ready with the arrangements made in September of that year.
Oh, wow.
So we had about 6 months in which to get that done.
Wow. What was that like?
That was a bit of a pleasure for me, because it gave me the opportunity of asking the ministry to provide certain things that they wouldn't otherwise have provided. In other words, as a result of that, I wrote a number of memoranda to the ministry asking for more laboratory space, provide us a bigger staff room, for the whole of the bicycle shed, which you knew in the old Queens, for that bicycle shed to be made over again to accommodate boys' bicycles and girls' bicycles.
Wow.
Because we didn't think it right for the boys to be mixing with the girls in the cycle sheds. The boys should have their own section, and the girls have their own section. A lot of thought went into that. A lot of thought. Not only that, we had to have sanitary block for boys and girls separately. When you were at Queens, I guess you knew that, did you? I don't know if you realized that. That all came in 75.
Okay.
Now we also had an extra staff room. You probably saw that too. We had a large staff room overlooking Thomas Road. Remember that?
Yes.
And then we had another little one I call an annex, just adjoining that.
Okay.
Now, you might not have known, no, you wouldn't have known. Between the end of the western end of the old staff room and the eastern end of the chemistry laboratories, there was a gap there, a space there.
Oh.
You didn't, well, you wouldn't have known that because when you were there, that space was filled already.
Right.
That's where the new chemistry lab was placed.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And then on the other side of the assembly hall, which is on the eastern side, we had a physics laboratory built there. So both of those went up in flames in the fire. Not only that, we also had made a sick bay for sick children, sick students. That was next door to the staff room. And there's one more thing we had made. What was that? I don't quite remember that, but there was one more. And we had a nurse. We had a nurse's little apartment.
Okay.
Where nurses connected with the sick bay would operate.
Okay.
She had all her little bits and pieces in that room. So there was a lot of work done.
A lot of changes, yes.
A lot of work was done. Plenty of work was done.
Yes, in a very short space of time.
And that was the only time we got from the ministry what was requested, because they did want co-education to succeed at Queen's College.
Okay.
So whatever we asked for, we got. So I took hold of the opportunity to get things done that I've always wanted things done. That I've always wanted done. Yeah. So that's how I got it done.
And that's great that there was so much support from the ministry. Did you get it?
Well, it came from the Ministry of Education, so they had to support it. They couldn't say no to that and no to that.
Okay, so there was no, I was going to ask, was there any opposition?
They had to accede to all the requests that I've made.
Right. Well, that's great. Thank you.
So that was the physical structure. But then there are also changes required inside the school, in the institution. Because we now had girls, we had to have members of staff who could talk with the girls, you see.
Oh, okay.
Look after girls' problems and so on and so forth.
Female staff.
So I had to, because I was the person who suggested it, that we have what we call tutors.
Okay.
We had a first year tutor, second year tutor, third year tutor, and a fourth year tutor. And then we had a middle school tutor. And for each of these divisions, we had one tutor. Fortunately for us, at the time, we had a number of female members of staff in the school. We had Miss Rawlins. You would have met Miss Rawlins, did you? Did you know Miss Rawlins?
Name sounds familiar. I'm thinking of Miss Rollaire, but
no, not Miss Rollaire, not Miss Rollaire. Miss Rawlins was there from 1972, I think and she left around 78 or there. No, you hardly have known her. You wouldn't know her,
no. So that's why I'm thinking.
She died in Guyana about a year and a half ago.
Oh no, sorry.
She died. She died in her 80s.
Okay.
But she was a very, very good teacher. She was very strict, but very liked to have as a teacher. Very much liked, you see, to have as a teacher. She was good. So she was there. Then we had Miss Akai. You would have heard of Miss Akai. Miss Akai is her picture is among the photographs I sent you.
Okay.
She's there.
Okay.
She died in Canada some years ago.
Okay.
She died in Canada. So we had quite a few women on the staff who were able to be tutors for the girls. Without them, I don't know what I would have done, because we couldn't have men tutoring women, tutoring girls.
Right, and thank you for that. So because of you, and all your efforts to take this initiative and to run with it, essentially, I was able to attend Queen's College. So I'm truly grateful and appreciative that
And there's yet one more, if I may. We had also to change the curriculum. Well, not to change it, but to modify it.
Okay.
Before the girls came, there were no economics and needlecraft and so on. None of that at all. There's none of that. All boys. Boys, of course, would not listen to any advice given about needlecraft and cooking and all. They wouldn't want to know. So had the girls not come into the school, we would never have had a home ec department.
Right.
I often say the coming of the girls was a blessing to the school. A blessing. It made the school more civil. Before the girls came, the boys were rough, very rough on one another. What I call rumbustious, I call it. I mean, they would bump you, put you into ants' nests and things like that. It's a very rough school. But when the girls came, all that was tempered. All that was tempered. So the girls civilized the school.
Glad
There
to
was
hear
no
that.
bump. There was no bumping anymore. No bumping anymore.
Glad to hear
But
that.
no. So now all of these changes, I would like the general public to know about.
Very,
And this is why I wrote all this is in the book. All that's in the book.
okay.
So I gave them what is called chapter and verse in the history.
Thanks. And
All
and
that.
for anybody who is watching this and hasn't gotten their copy yet and hasn't read it yet, please.
Indeed, when it's out, there's no if, but when it's out.
Yes.
When it's out.
Yes. Please.
So the book has got a lot of information that lots of us would want to know about.
Absolutely. That just helps to create such a rich and vivid picture for us, because I can just imagine the boys. I remember when I was there, I thought the boys were rough when I was there. So I can only imagine.
Well, you can imagine what happened before you came.
Before I came.
They're very rough. They're very rough.
Yeah, but I remember they were such good students. Like they were very, very athletic, and they loved to play basketball, and they would play all their sports, table tennis and so on. But then they were also very competitive in the classroom as well. And sometimes, it would be the competition between, the boys and
Right.
the
Now
girls.
I'm glad you raised that, because that's one of the points I raised also.
Okay.
By bringing the girls into the school, we allow competition to take place between the sexes. Because the boys feel that the girls are no good, and vice versa.
Right.
So they would see that both sexes are worth, putting on a pedestal. They can both achieve, and that would not have been possible hadn't they been brought together.
Right.
So there were lots and lots of advantages. All the benefits that I saw, I listed them.
Very
And
nice.
that reminds me that I want to send you a list of all that I wrote
Okay.
in respect to these topics that we're discussing in brief.
Great. I'd love to share them. I'm sure our audience would love to know. And for me, I just remember in my class, there were three of us always competing for the top spot. So one of my friends, very good friends, still friends to this day, Kinda Seaton, she would either come first, second or third, and then we had a boy sandwiched in the middle. And then it would be, among the three of us. And so even if she came first and I came third, I was still happy that a girl was at the top of
And the girl was among the
of the
first three.
class.
So
Yes,
it was a ding dong tussle.
very much so. Very much so.
No, but I think this element of competition and respect for the sexes, you've got to
Absolutely.
encourage that. You have to encourage that. You see. And once they stay apart, there'll be no such thing. This will never happen.
Right.
You have to bring them together so they can talk to each other, get to know each other, how each other behaves, and all of that. All of those points I made in writing.
Great. Love to share that. And so I'm sure that helped in terms of, the transitioning from, even students for myself going into university now where you're going to have, it's a co-ed institution. I'm sure that also facilitated that transition.
In other words, you're not feeling strange.
Right.
You're not strange now. You're accustomed to that. Yes.
Right.
Yeah, it's a more natural setting, much more natural setting.
Absolutely. And how do you feel Queen's College laid the foundation for your post-secondary?
Oh, definitely. Without Queens, I would never have achieved what I did achieve, in fact. I mean, I wouldn't have gone to the best school in Guyana, if not one of the best in the Caribbean, if not the best. You see. And because I went to a very good school, I got a very good A-level pass. I didn't get a Guyana scholarship. I wasn't good enough for that. But I got a very good A-level pass in 1952. That was because I had good teachers. And on the strength of the good pass I had, I got into a good university in England. So if I didn't have the chance to go to Queens, I would have been, I don't know where. I often say I might have been a train driver or a grave digger or something like that. No, I'm serious. But I really got a break when I got that scholarship from Virgin Nugent from Philadelphia Primary, and when I ended up at QC.
And so many of my friends, we're still friends to this day. So there was the academic and scholastic element, but there was also the friendship. I found it was so genuine.
Yeah, what I call it camaraderie.
Yes, absolutely. And the teachers, like you mentioned, there was such a genuine level of concern for us as students, and they were so willing to go above and beyond to help
Yes.
us to
Yes.
achieve and succeed. And at some points, I wondered, do these people think of us as their children? Because that's how they treated us, and they genuinely wanted us to succeed. So for me, it was very so glad to hear that we share that in common, recognizing that Queen's College basically laid the foundation for the rest of
Well,
our.
if I may say, the teachers at any school are what we call in Latin in loco parentis.
Mm.
That means in the place of parents. In
Okay.
loco parentis, you see.
Okay.
And therefore,
Okay.
it's not surprising that they were so parental, in their attitude towards you.
Very much so. And it always stood out for me because I attended high school, obviously Queen's College in Guyana, and later migrated to Canada. And I saw the difference in terms of
Yes.
the
Yes.
education, but also in terms of the way that the teachers and educators interacted
How they
with
relate to the students, yes.
very different, very different. And so that makes me even more grateful for the opportunity to have attended Queen's College. So how, I know you're very active. You've taken the initiative to write this book, which is amazing. I hope everybody gets a chance to read it and dig in. And I know you're very active with the Alumni Association. How did you get involved, and how long have you been involved with the
With the associations. Oh, for a long time.
Alumni?
Um, Now, let me be honest. When I was at Queen's, the association was not very active in the way it is now, or the associations, plural, in the way they are now. There was an association called QC Old Boys Association, no, Old Boys Association, but all it did was have a cocktail party once a year. And they met in the hall, in the nice big hall we had there, auditorium. And they hobnobbed and, tapped each other on the back and so on. It wasn't a serious money-raising, fundraising institution. So that's all they did. They hobnobbed together as buddies. But now the association's role is very, very much more important to raise funds for the school, because no school can exist with only government support, not one. The government can never have enough money to support the school completely and only. So this is where in 1984, I think it was, 84, 85, the first association was formed, which is the Washington chapter. And then about a year or so later, we had a Toronto chapter, which is now the QC, this Association of Canada, I'm told.
Yeah.
I'm hearing now.
Yes,
and then
officially changed.
sometime after that came New York. And then I think before New York, I think there was the UK. So there were four major, if you like, pioneers in the area of associations. New York, Canada, London, and which is the other one? New York, Canada,
Washington.
Washington, right. Now I'm told there's one in Georgia, and also one in Florida.
Very
The
nice.
one in Florida was there a long time, but they haven't been very active.
Okay.
So I've been associated with I was first associated with the UK chapter when I was there in, when was I? I was there in, let me get my bearings now, in the 80s. I was there. And then when I went back to Guyana at the end of the 80s, I joined the local chapter, the Guyana chapter. And when I came to Canada, I joined the Toronto chapter, which is where I've remained on since then. So I had quite a number of years association with the chapters. Quite a number of years. You see.
Very nice, very nice. And so you've been so involved, and obviously this is something that you enjoy because you don't have to be a part of it. It's voluntary.
No, I mean, there's some who don't want to know about it. As a matter of fact, if I may say this, I once met an old boy of Queen's College in Guyana. That was when was it now? It would have been somewhere around the 1980s, 90s. He's a lawyer. And I met him in court one day and I said, hello, how are you? He said, oh, I'm fine. And how are you? I said, I'm fine. I said, well, I don't see you at any of our meetings. He said, what meeting are you talking about? I said, well, I'm talking about the old students meeting. I couldn't say old boys anymore because the girls are joined by that time. See? The old students association. He said, I no longer belong to that. I said, it no longer. When did you stop? He said, when the school became coeducational.
Oh, no. Okay.
Well, that, I felt so, dispirited. I felt dispirited. I said, well, if that's the way you feel, what can I say? It's your right. But there are some boys who felt, well, old boys, when I say boys, old boys who felt that the school should never have changed from what it was. And he was one, you see.
Okay.
But I thought differently. The school has done, how shall I put it? The school is better off
I
for
think
being a
so.
co-ed, much better off.
Yeah, I think so. And I certainly am grateful that it for the transition. So you know how I feel about that. But yeah, I'm sure there are lots of other people, especially younger younger alumna who want to get involved, maybe don't even know how to get involved. Or, you know, people who may think they're um you know, maybe new to the country and not sure how to get involved. How would you encourage them to get involved, or
You
why
mean
should they get
who are already at QC or hoping to get to QC?
no, so who have graduated and moved
Oh, I see.
on and are now working, and you know, they may be here in Canada with us, or they may be in New York or the UK.
Well,
Uh,
that's one of my. This is what I'm a little sad about. One doesn't hear much about the old girls of Queen's College as
mhm,
much as one should.
mhm,
One hears a little bit more about the old boys of Queen's College, but not the old girls of Queen's College. Now that has bothered me and my conscience too. Now,
mhm.
was this something that I did or something that is being done at the moment? So what's the reason for that, would you say?
You know
I
what?
mean, let me be very honest with you.
Mhm.
I've only heard a lot about two old girls of QC. I've heard a lot about Wendy Brewster, who died.
Okay.
And I've heard a lot about a young lady who went to Oxford, having got a Rhodes Scholarship, an Indian girl. What's her name? I can't remember her. Um, you might not have heard of her. But the only two persons I heard about who've been to QC as females were the two that I mentioned.
Hmm.
Now, where are the others? What are they doing?
I don't know. I don't
So
know. But
they're yet to show their color. They're not showing their color at all, or the colors, I should say, plural. You see,
And
they're
that's
not
one of
showing
the
that at
reasons
all.
I'm here too, is to
And
help
one
encourage.
must hope that you will now be one of those who will show
Right,
your color.
right,
And
right.
I sincerely hope and pray that you will be.
Yes, yes, yes. And that's part of the reason I'm here too, is to celebrate International Women's Month. We had International Women's Day a few weeks ago, just still celebrating in the month of March. So just highlighting, you know, women who have been to Queen's College. We've had an interview with Dr. Alicia Elias Roberts, who's it's going to come out shortly. You know, she's at the University of the West Indies, studied in Canada at Queen's University, just
Is she teaching there? Or what? Is she
yes,
teaching?
she just became the
She's
dean
teaching.
of the Faculty of Law, so she's doing
I see.
amazing things.
Well, that's the sort of thing I like to hear.
Absolutely,
Very pleasant.
absolutely. Good to
But you're
hear
not hearing anything.
the stories, but I think there's still a bit of the stigma around, you know, Queen's College being, you know, the old boys and the old boys
Yes.
association. So
The old boys club.
yes, yes, yes. So hoping to change that narrative. So on that note, you know, what message would you have for young QC students and
Well,
young
as I was going
girls?
to say in writing, but I'll tell you now by words, I think that they should first of all consider that they have got a duty to themselves, to their parents, and their community
Mhm,
to do their best at Queens.
mhm,
Why? Because it's the right thing to do. It's ethical. That's the ethical thing to do. You've
mhm,
been given an opportunity to be at the best school in the country. It's not right that you should squander that opportunity, is it? You shouldn't squander that. What you're squandering, others would like to have, you see.
mhm, mhm,
And so that's one of the things I want to impress upon them. They have a duty. And not only that, but there's a financial dimension to this. Somebody's paying for that education that you're getting.
mhm,
And if you're getting this education at great cost and not using it, it is an offense. It is obscene to be spending people's money and not getting anything for it.
mhm,
So no, I think they must apply themselves and do their very best. That's number one. Number two, you're there to form friends, form relationships, get to know how to behave among people of your own kind and of different kinds also. And you're there to gain or to learn respect for the opposite sex. That's very important. Because before the boys had the girls coming in, as we were saying, they had no respect for the girls at all.
mhm,
The girls were little sillies. They didn't know anything at all. But now they know better than that.
mhm,
So those are the three main reasons I believe that co-education did a very good job. So I
mhm,
think I want the present generation of students to know that they must take advantage of the opportunity they have to make relationships to better themselves, generally speaking.
mhm.
And importantly, to be involved with community work. Now they're not doing any of that at all. It's all lessons, 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 lessons. This is something I'm very, very worried about. Rather than going to lessons in the afternoon before school and after school, why don't you go home at a decent hour and do some community work? Visit people who need help, visit farms and help them there. You know what I mean? Write letters to people who can't write. This sort of thing is something they should consider doing. Or you run errands for people who can't get out of their homes. We need to do a lot more community work. Now, why am I saying this? Number one, it's the right thing to do. Number two, now I have these little lapses of memory. Number two, what's the second thing? Number one is, oh yeah, I remember it now. It's come back now. Number two, you're going to lessons before school. You're going to lessons after school. You're getting 21, 26 grade ones, but then there are other people like you who got 25, 27, 30 grade ones. So who will be given benefit? You 26 or the person with 30? How do they distinguish between those who've done very, very well? How do you distinguish? Community work.
Absolutely.
What have you done for the community? Anything at all? Were you a sportsman? No, I wasn't. All I did was study. I got good grades. They don't want you. You're no good. You're not good to the community at all. So you've got to be all around. You have abilities, use them.
Yes, I'm so glad you said that, all around. That was one of the things I was encouraged when I was there.
You have to be
around the student, right? And even in our adult lives, we can't just all work and no play.
It makes Jack a dull boy, very dull, very dull. When I heard of Miss Rawlins's case, she was very ill. The same Rawlins I mentioned who taught at Queens for years. She had osteoporosis for years. She could not move. I remember ringing her when I was in Guyana once, and she took 5 minutes to get to the phone. I almost hung up on her. She said, "No, don't hang up. I'm coming. I'm coming." And she said, "Excuse me, I've got osteoporosis. I can hardly move." In fact. So I said, "Whom do you live with?" "No one." "You get help from anybody?" "Nobody comes to help." Well, this is why I'm saying people who've got, who've got such an advantage of being a queen should help other people who have not got that advantage. So find out who needs help in the community. This should be the school's responsibility. And get people to volunteer. You don't force them. You volunteer to go and help these people. Now, here's an ex-QC mistress who is dying of osteoporosis and can't get help. And this doesn't sound well at all.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. And I think I think to your point, people don't realize sometimes how rewarding it can be to assist, to help others in the community.
Help others who can't help themselves.
Absolutely. And you know what? We're all going to get older.
Now it's all about self.
Yes, unfortunately.
Now we have to.
And that's
care for somebody who can't care for himself.
Yeah, that's not.
So that's when I heard how she had died alone, it really hurt me.
Yeah, that's unfortunate.
There's plenty of people she taught at QC. I guess they never knew, but then they should have been made to know that Miss Rawlins is ill. Can you take turns of going to help her?
Absolutely, absolutely. And hopefully somebody hearing this can learn from this and just reconsider, rethink their decisions in their lives. So before we run though, I do have these photos that I'd love for you to take us down memory lane and share with us.
All right, if you like, I'd be very willing to do that.
Yes, thank you so much. I would love, I love seeing photos. So I love to ask you, I have some descriptors below, but would love to ask you what was happening in this photo. So this is a photo.
Now this was after it was speech day. Did I say that? No, maybe not. Yeah, I did say speech day 76. This was 1 year after the girls came to Queens. The first, let's call it, fully fledged speech day with girls present. Fully fledged because the girls were there too, you see. They took an active part, as you would have seen in the other pictures. So after the speech day was over, then the chap that I'm talking to in the white shirt jacket, do you know who that was or who that is?
No.
You don't know? My memory is playing tricks with me again. The name. My memory is playing tricks with me again. But I'll get the name and I'll tell you.
Okay. Okay.
He was the deputy to Mr. Burnham.
Oh, no way. Okay.
Now help me now. What's his name? Oh no. How could I forget his name? All right. Anyway, the name will come. When it comes, I'll
Yeah,
give it to
yeah.
you.
No worries. When
So
you're
I was talking to him. I was talking to
okay.
him, and
Oh,
around us, him and me, were the people who attended the speech day proceedings.
oh, okay.
Now that place was packed, absolutely packed. You see. Now you don't have that nowadays, do you? Speech days are not well attended now, apparently.
Hmm.
In other words, nowadays Queen's College students have the option of going to speech day.
Oh, okay. Okay.
In our day, I don't know if it was so in your day, but in our day, it was not an option. It was mandatory. You
Oh,
had to be at speech day.
okay.
If you did not go to speech day, you were asked why not. Bring an excuse if you don't get caned. Also, oh, they were very strict. You had to come to speech day. Oh,
Mhm.
the name is Hamilton Green. Hamilton
Hamilton
Green.
Green. Yes, yes,
That is
yes. I
Hamilton. That
remember
is
him.
Hamilton Green.
Yes, and he
Hamilton Green and I were more or less schoolmates.
okay.
I
Okay.
was 1 year. I was 1 year ahead of him. Ahead
Okay.
of him. 1 year
Okay.
ahead.
Wow.
So
Good.
that was after the speech day. So
Oh, okay. Thanks. And
asking me,
now that you
asking me
say his name,
how I did it. How is it possible to do it? So, to get the school to come together so well, for the boys,
right, right.
so well, so
And I
well.
remember, and this is a familiar scene. I remember this, the auditorium. What was happening here?
That was an auditorium that I am the person at the rostrum there at the
Okay.
lectern. We call it the lectern at the lectern. I
Oh.
don't remember what the occasion was. I consider something to do with an anniversary.
Mm-hmm.
1844, 1976, but I cannot remember what the occasion was, to be
Okay,
honest.
okay. But
So
very
long ago,
familiar.
that's a long time ago. That's what, 50 years ago, very nearly.
Yes, very familiar scene. I remember
Definitely.
us standing
But you
here
can see
for
the girls in their tunics. You can see that,
yes, yes,
and the boys in their shirts.
yes.
What I really do regret, I regret it very, very badly, is that I wasn't, how should I, perceptive enough to take a picture of the first assembly we had when the girls came.
When the girls were there, oh, that would have
I
been
did not. Somebody might have taken a picture, but I never did. You see. I
oh,
never did, and that's one mistake I made.
oh man.
One mistake I did not make was when the girls came and we were keeping records. We made a distinction between boys and girls. Now, was that in the case when you were tweens? If you look down the register, you'll tell who are boys and who are girls. Except the names are in full, you can't tell who's boy and who's girl.
Right, no, we couldn't tell.
If you had JT Tom, you don't know what the J was for, whether it's for
No,
John or Jean.
yeah.
But you see, I thought ahead. I said, we will want to know when the history is written. We want to know how many of these people are girls or girls. And what do you think I did? I decided to put an asterisk
Oh, okay.
opposite the girls' names.
Okay,
And
okay.
that's how I got to know who were girls and who were boys.
Wow.
And when you see the volume that my tenure comes in, which is the next volume, volume 3, you will see who the girls who took part in what sports and so on and so forth.
Oh, okay.
And
Wow.
that is the only way you could tell.
Okay. Good to
So
know.
I had a presence of mind to do that.
Yes, and good
I
for
had
you
that.
for thinking ahead, that foresight to be able to distinguish. And how about this one? So this looks like a photo I would have happily been a part
Now
of.
you see what speech day was like. You see, we had plants decorating the place.
Very
It's a
nice.
big
Yes.
thing. Speech day was the only, well, not the only, the most important occasion for the year. Most important occasion. Not the athletic sports, which it is now, apparently.
That's huge.
That's the main thing now.
Yes.
For me, that doesn't have any value at all. You know, you march. What's the value of marching? That has no. What's the value of that? You know. But no, they're placing emphasis on the wrong things. Now, what was speech day like in your time? Was it full of fun, full of decorations, and so on and so forth?
Not as much. I remember the sports days very vividly. Don't remember speech day as much.
Exactly. Well, that's it should be all the way around. You remember speech day, but not sports day. And you see, not only that, but you had to be dressed in school uniform. Now these girls are wearing uniform, and you can see the crest. You can see the crest on the pocket.
Yes.
They didn't have ties. They didn't have any ties. Why not? We could not get ties from England. Why not? No foreign exchange.
Okay.
No money.
Oh,
Those are the early days of the Republic. When the country went financially bankrupt.
Oh no.
No money at all. No foreign exchange at all. You could not do that. That's the time when you had to eat rice flour and all of that. You remember those days, of course.
Yes, my parents told me about those days.
Exactly. Well, maybe you weren't born then.
No, not
You weren't born
yet.
then.
Not
So
yet.
times are very hard.
Mhm.
And the headmaster who brought in these crests, that was Mr. Yap. He came after Mr. Hetram.
Okay.
And he introduced us to these we call them crests on the pockets.
Okay.
And these crests were locally made. They were made in it was called Brianna Shirt Factory.
Oh.
In the Penitence,
Okay.
Georgetown.
I remember that. Yeah.
They made the crest. Yes, they made the crest.
Wow. Very nice.
So we had to use a lot of initiative and a lot of stand-ins, things that substituted for what? No money and therefore no ties at all. So we had to change to those. So that's how the girls were dressed in those days.
But
now
still,
the color there was not white. It was gold.
Gold. Okay. Okay.
It was gold.
Yes. I remember.
In another picture, you saw the girls in gold. A different picture, not this one.
I remember I had gold and white.
And the dress at speech day was school uniform. Nothing else. School uniform.
Nothing else.
Now I see when at the moment when you have your, is it speech day or whatever? What do they call it now? Graduation day. We never had a graduation day. We had a speech day.
Okay.
Now there's a graduation day. I see caps and gowns and all that. But what do you need that for? You know, I don't go for those things at all. Those things are just embellishments. They have no worth at all. You know?
Yeah.
You know, I don't know how you feel.
Yeah, they just conform to the other, especially.
I mean, they follow North America.
Exactly.
Why must we follow North America? Why? We have our tradition. Maintain your school tradition. So we use our ordinary school uniform. The prefects in their black trousers and white shirts. You see, the girls in their, well, in those days, the gold tunics or shirts, and their Tetrix skirts. Nothing different. But these days they have to wear caps and gowns.
Yes, and people.
And I'm told that those caps and gowns cost a lot of money to make.
They're not cheap.
That money could be put to other uses, which are more lasting. What do you do? What do you do with the cap and gown when you leave school? Nothing. Wasting money. You're wasting money. Anyway, that's beside the point. So, Senior Master Mr. Yearwood, he's died now. He's died since. Now this is the picture where I am giving my address, my report, and there's Hamilton Green, not the first, not the chap with the dark glasses.
Yes.
And there's Green, Hamilton Green after him.
Yes.
Not the first, the second one. The second one.
Okay.
That's Hamilton Green there.
Okay.
And after him came, oh no, the name is gone again. Oh no, the name. But he's a lawyer, very faithful member of the PTA. That one was very faithful member, PTA.
Wow. Very nice.
And then we had at the very end of that line of chairs was the head prefect.
Oh, okay. That's
now he has a brother in Canada. His name is oh no, my memory is getting very bad now. Anyway, he has a brother who's a doctor in Canada now.
Okay.
But he himself died. He died very young.
No. Sorry to hear
so
that.
that's what we look like on speech day.
Yes.
The headmaster wore his gown. All those who had gowns wore them.
Okay.
But there were any gowns, academic gowns like this one in your time from the headmistress.
Very nice. And then what is happening here? So this is the conversation.
Now, this is after the speech day on the very occasion. Now these people here are the members of the new cadet corps. The QC Cadet Corps was replaced by the Guyana National Service Cadet Corps.
Oh, okay.
And how do you think that happened? That happened in one moment. I went to see he was President Burnham, he was then, because after I became head, I said to myself, well, I want the school to look a little better than it did when I took over. I want to have a new fence the ground, and I asked Burnham to launch an appeal, being the most influential old boy of the school.
Okay.
So I made an appointment to see him. He gave me an appointment. I went to see him. He started off by telling me that the school looked very nice and so on and so forth. The school has done very well. But he said, what about the cadet corps? You have something they call the cadet corps, don't you? I said, yes. How's it doing? I said, doing very well. We had a camp here. We did this, we did that. And then he said, you know what? That must go. just like that.
Hmm.
That must go, just like that. He picked up his red telephone. He had two phones, a red one and a black one.
Mm-hmm.
Picked up the red phone and got in touch with the head of the National Service
Mm-hmm.
and said, Norman, that was the name of the head, Norman, there's something at QC called a cadet corps. I want it abolished immediately.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And the very next day, the man came in whose job it was to do that, and he
Mm-hmm.
just began the process of abolishing the cadet corps.
Oh, wow.
So after we lost that corps, the uniform changed from what it was then to what
Mm-hmm.
it is now.
Oh,
Or
okay.
what it was then, not now, but then. See?
Wow.
Now, did you know the uniform was before the change?
Don't think so, no.
Was there not a cadet corps of Queens when you were there?
Don't
Oh
recall.
no, there would not have been because it was abolished. Sorry, it was abolished. So it could not have been there yet. It
Yeah.
was abolished.
Okay.
It was abolished.
And so this is
This is these are all National Service Cadet Corps people there. Right?
oh, okay. Okay.
But is there another one? Is there another parade picture?
I don't think so. I think that was it, these two.
All right, I can send you one. I have pictures of that too.
Okay, sure. We'll be glad to share.
I'll send you one of those, in fact.
Yes,
I'll
please.
send you the very last picture we took before
Oh,
the
okay.
corps was
Before it
abolished.
was dismantled. Okay.
Before the abolition of the corps.
Oh, okay. Sounds good.
So they were lined up there on
Looking
speech day,
sharp.
same speech day. It's all one day. This is all in one day.
Oh, all in one day. Wow.
And they were being inspected before the VIPs came in.
Oh, okay.
Because
Wow.
when the VIPs come in, they inspect the parade.
Hmm.
And then they having inspected the parade, they went up the stairs, the western stairs in the entrance hall, which is just behind, and into the auditorium.
Oh, okay. Wow.
So that was one of the preliminaries.
Wow. Wow. Pretty
Oh,
cool.
it was a grand thing. It was a very, very grand thing.
It seemed like it. It
That's
seemed like it for there to be inspections.
was
I
very
remember
grand
us
thing,
having
very grand.
random inspections of our teeth and our nails and our hair and your clothes. But yeah, that seems like a pretty intense speech day.
Now this is the last year of before co-education.
Okay.
No, I'm wrong. The first year of co-education.
The first year,
First
okay,
year of
yes, because I
co-education.
see.
The first year. Now the
Okay.
first year we had no female prefects
Okay.
because they just come in. You see.
I see.
They don't know the run of the school, so you can't make them prefects. You see.
Right.
But from the second year,
Okay.
in 1977, the first were appointed.
Okay.
We had three. All that's in the history, you know. That's all in the history.
Okay.
All of that is in history.
Very
But not the second volume. That's in my volume, the third volume.
okay. Okay.
So there's Miss Akai, the lady in front, the Chinese lady.
Yes. Yes.
She was the deputy head to me. I was the head. I'm in front there.
Oh, okay.
And did you know, you heard of the Cubana crash? A set of students were leaving Guyana to go to Cuba in 1978, I think it was.
Mhm.
And the plane was hijacked, not hijacked. On the plane were two Cuban terrorists,
Oh no.
and they left the plane in Trinidad. And as soon as they left the plane, there was a big explosion
Oh
on
no.
the plane, and lots of people, 90-something persons, lost their lives. You see, among whom were 7 Guyanese students.
Oh no.
Now, in this picture, in the front row, if you look at the front row,
Mm-hmm.
sitting next to Miss Okai, next to me,
Mm-hmm.
with an afro,
Mm-hmm.
he lost his life. That's Norton. He lost
Oh,
his life.
sorry to
So
hear.
quite a number lost their lives, in fact.
Yeah.
There was a girl from Bishop's too who lost her life. A
Oh,
Bishop's girl lost her life too.
that's
So
unfortunate.
these were the prefects who were there
Okay.
in the first year of co-education.
The first year of co-ed. Oh man.
Now you see, they're all relaxed. Have you noticed that? All relaxed.
Yeah, they all look very comfortable with each other.
Now nowadays I see when the prefects take a picture, they have to have their hands in front of them. Have you noticed that?
Mm-hmm.
Boys and girls have to be very, very stiff. You know. Well, I didn't go for that at all.
Yeah, you didn't subscribe to that. They look very much themselves here. So
No, they look happy.
Mhm.
They're not confined and restricted. They look free beings, free spirits.
yes, as it should be. I like that.
And you know, I even allow them to have their afros if they wanted.
Which is great, yeah, because
They
so
have their
many of
afros
them,
if they wanted.
some of
Yeah.
them, yeah,
They had
they
their afro. I didn't
look like
object.
themselves. Yeah, I like it.
Even the head boy had an afro. Now this next picture is one that I think should be preserved. This one here, the old school building.
The old building, yeah.
Now
Yeah.
I'm disappointed nobody has thought of having that picture put up in the present school. It should be there. It should be there. There should be a picture of this, how the school looked before the new school took effect.
Mhm.
Nobody has thought of that at all.
Mm. Well,
Maybe
something for us to think about.
maybe you can.
Yeah, there you go.
You can.
Something that I can definitely take away and work on.
And you remember this too, don't you?
Yes, yes, yes. I remember the school. I mean, there was the fire, unfortunately, but
Now,
yeah.
as we're on this picture, if you look on the right side of the staff room, the
Mhm.
western end of the staff room, did you notice a gap between that and the building goes in, across, and then out again?
Mhm. Yeah, right
And
here.
can you see there's a space there
Yes.
on that's where the chem lab was, the chemistry
Oh,
lab was there.
okay. Okay.
And on the other side, corresponding to that one, on the eastern side, we had the physics lab.
Hmm.
That's so. But they all went up in the fire, of course.
Yeah, unfortunately.
That was such a a sad
Such
event.
a
Very sad.
yeah, yeah, but
Very sad.
glad we were able
Anyway,
to rebuild and repair. And then so this is the deputy headmistress.
that's the deputy head, Miss Ada Kai. Yeah, she died in Canada, as I said.
Oh no. But oh, and that looks like that's it. So thank you for taking us down memory lane. I
Well, that's
love
our time
that.
is up, is it? Time is
Yes,
up.
yes, yes. But thank
Oh
you
yeah, in
so
fact,
much.
we've gone beyond the hour.
Yes, but
We've
you
gone
know
beyond the
what?
hour.
It didn't even feel like an hour. Thank you
No,
so
it looks
much
indeed, indeed.
for
Time
taking
went
the
so quickly.
time.
Okay,
And
so the rest is left to you then.
yes, so
I want to make before you go. Can you make sure you see the picture of the first form girls in their gold uniform, in their gold tops?
yes, so let
Can you
me,
see if you can go through them quickly?
yes, let
It's a
me,
very nice picture. Very nice picture.
I don't think maybe I didn't, maybe
Maybe
I
you
did
didn't download that one.
download that one. Yeah, because these are all the ones
That's
that,
one that I'd like persons to see. Because
okay,
nowadays they don't wear gold anymore. They wear white,
they
don't
were
they? Nowadays
white. Yes, yes,
they wear
yes. When
white.
I was
It
there,
was
I had,
gold. It was gold. It was gold originally.
yes, and
It was gold.
I have pictures of me in my gold,
Well, oh, you had gold as well. Right.
sure, yes,
It was gold. Right. It
yes,
was
I
gold
had
as well.
gold as well. So we'll
And
try
that
to,
color was chosen by me. You see, I chose that color.
oh, very nice. Thanks for choosing that.
I designed the girls' uniform.
Oh, no way.
I
Okay.
did all of that. I designed it and I showed it to the ladies on the staff to
Okay.
approve.
Oh,
And
I
they
thought,
made a few suggestions and so on and so forth. And I said, all right.
oh,
But
wow.
I did all the groundwork.
Okay. Wow. Well, thank you. Thank you for doing that for us. I would have thought
So
it would have been the other way around.
were you there from Form 1 or from Form 2?
Yes. So from
Form 1. Yeah?
form one, form two, and form three. And then I left at the end of form three, or just
No,
in the middle.
I thought you went to sixth form.
No, no,
Oh,
no.
you
So
didn't.
I was 94 to 97. So 94, I was in form one.
So you left for Canada, did you? When
Yes.
you left, you came
Yes.
to Canada.
Yes.
Oh, I see.
Yes. 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 So
So you're
my
more Canadian than I thought then.
Guyanese at heart.
Okay, needs a time.
Always, always
All
good.
right.
But really appreciate you taking the time to take us down memory lane, to share your stories with us. And more importantly, just as we're celebrating, International Women's Month, for sharing the instrumental role that you had and the part you played in helping Queens College to become a co-ed
Mhm.
school. And we will always be grateful to you, all the girls of QC, and thank you for everything you've done and continue to do, with from the book to your involvement in the Alumni Association
Well,
to
I thought as long as there's life in my body, I do as much as I can.
and we
Now,
all
before I forget, could I ask you to expect the written version of what I said,
yes,
the written version in
yes,
more detail, a
yes,
lot more detail.
yes, 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 please, and we'll
I'll
share.
send that maybe tonight. I'll send that to you.
Okay,